Coming up in this next video, we have Manu and Zoe from Wild Cleanse Yoga. They're going to talk about a few things about the COVID-19 situation. So this video is going to be titled Secret Garden COVID-19 Lockdown.
It's been a challenge, to be honest. It's been really hard. I feel like social interaction was a real key component to my own ability to maintain my mental health. I feel like that was probably the case for a lot of people I know. And it has had quite a detrimental impact not being able to have that human connection with people that we all rely on. I also have a friend that works in the mental health ward who says that they have been inundated with people who have really been suffering from their businesses closing, from their family units breaking down, to just losing their jobs, to a whole range of all of the sort of like side impacts that we are getting from this social isolation and the COVID-19 restrictions. So whilst it is obviously like a necessity that we need to keep each other safe, there are a lot of side impacts that I think I'm probably not getting as much attention maybe as they should be, or addressed or acknowledged as much, because I think people are struggling a lot more than we would all like to admit, because it's like you like to think that you're going to be okay on your own, but we are social creatures and we need that social interaction to be healthy spiritually, mentally, and then physically as well. Yeah.
I think, and I agree with everything you said, and it's just, I think we've done a fabulous job of isolating and, flattening the curve, which was the initial intention, but I think we shouldn't just look at it as a one-dimensional problem as, let's keep the COVID deaths out, because there's so many different aspects, a multi-dimensional problem. There's like how many sexual abuses cases are going to happen. Like there might be 20,000 people who might get sexually abused in the next 6 months if we keep these things on. Like, when is it going to end? Like the vaccine, I've just read an article today, could be up to a year away, because they have to do human clinical trials. What happens if they don't go through this process and just rush to a vaccine, and then the government forces everyone to do it? Like, in China, you can't board a plane unless you have this vaccine and stuff. And what if they fuck it up and we have a side effect 2 years in? They could wipe out human civilization. Like, imagine they forced everyone on this vaccine that didn't work. So it's like, but if they're not going to let us out of the house till this vaccine is here and everyone's vaccinated, it's it's going to create all these problems, this isolation. So we have to, but every time I try to discuss this on social media, we get shut down, because you're not thinking about these old people, you're not thinking about all these other people, think about yourself. And it's not, it's a multi-dimensional problem. There's like unemployment, so that's going to cause problems in families, that are already on their edge, and suddenly they don't have money. So obviously they're going to have all these fights that they wouldn't have had if, the economy was going properly. And we're risking the future of all the young generation.
Yeah, there's a large waterfall effect, I think, of the implications involved with the social isolation. Not to say that it's not a necessary thing or that it's not something we should be doing, but I think it's something that whilst we need to be maintaining the social isolation to a degree, we also need to be giving just as much consideration to the side effects that are coming about because of the social isolation. So the effects on the general public's mental health, the effects on the more vulnerable people within our community, like you're saying, like those that are in not the most ideal home environments. So those that could be in volatile home environments, violent home environments, they're now, because of social isolation, secluded to be in that home environment and essentially have been barred from a large amount of the support that they would have otherwise been able to have access to. And the list is sort of like quite essentially endless of the different implications that we're going to be facing, but we need to start stepping up and not just addressing COVID, but addressing how we need to keep ourselves mentally and physically healthy as a community, because of the implications from COVID.
And I heard even the pigeons are depressed because they got no people to shit on.
Don't blame them, hey.
How about post-COVID-19? Do you think we'll see a lot of changes with post-COVID-19 after we're all back to normal?
Post-COVID.
We've got post-COVID.
No, there's two. I feel like we have two options.
Once we're back open again.
We have two options. We either have like at the end of the Black Plague and at the end of
historically, at the end of most times where as a society we've been sort of suppressed or we've been forced to stay inside, when we've been allowed out, we've sort of had these like almost like wild hedonistic celebrations. We had like the roaring 20s, we had the swinging 60s, we've had, even after like the Black Plague, they apparently came out and everyone was having like mad orgies because we've been so deprived of this human connection. We're either going to come out and we're going to come out like fiercer as ever, as like just like wild, beautiful human beings, or this could be pushing us into like sort of the next phase of human society where we are innately afraid of human contact, and the pressures from social media to stay isolated somehow embeds within our mentality, and we decide that other people that are unknown are unsafe, and it pushes us further towards a life where we stay more so in our homes. We engage with people through virtual reality. We engage in shopping through like online shopping, and then our human contact just gets moved back a little bit further in the form of like, you know, we'll be like, oh, technological progression, this is great. We're all, you know, living essentially some semi like VR life. But so I reckon we're either going to like go down, like be like just innately fall down to a less human contact lifestyle. And that's just going to be the progression that we're going to take until we're like living in pods like the Matrix. Or we're going to come out and we're just going to be like wild, and it's going to be, I mean, like when we all get to go back to work, that first Friday night of work after work drinks, after the first week back when everyone goes back to work, is going to be, it'll be a good Friday night.
I have a different view. I think there's no COVID, no post-virus, because now every, you know, what people call terrorists, I call, you know, some people might call them freedom fighters. Every freedom fighter organization in the world has realized they've been fighting the wrong war in the wrong way. So if you're today a Kashmiri in India citizen or Palestinian spending or finding out how they can get freedom, if they had the biological means to create a virus like that and the vaccine, they could wipe out their enemy and protect their own people. So every single terrorist freedom fighter organization in the world today, the top priority is now to develop a virus that spreads as easily and a vaccine, and that's how they get their freedom. So this is never going to end. It is, you know, it's so
Stage 2.
Yeah.
So it's time to go to Mars, genetically modify humans so that they can live on Mars without like a spacesuit and without it.
And change the way we do things to the planet.
Exactly. So just think of how one of the reasons that this thing is why is because, and this pandemic was because of how much garbage we're putting into the planet, into the environment, into the oceans. So all these new kinds of bacteria, living organisms, viruses are being born. And now think of how much disinfectant we're using. The whole planet
Water
is now using disinfectant that's going into our system, and it's creating all these resistant bacteria and stuff that one of them is, and we're already creating our next like big outbreak by just using that amount of disinfectant.
Yeah.
So it's never going away.
Even I'm washing my hands a lot more. You know, you just think about, oh, got to wash my hands, but there's more water down the drain. So I was thinking, wonder how much more water in volume we've actually
but it's not,
been going
water
through.
is fine, but what about water that with disinfectants in them, like hospital grade, like
more pollutants
and pollutants? So it's all going. So people just think, okay, just down the sink. What happens to those chemicals and the toxins once it goes beyond the sink? It's at every stage, all the way to the ocean, into the ocean. It's creating resistant bacteria, and they're just going to come back and bite us really bad.
Yeah, well, they even say that they think that like we've unintentionally ended up altering the majority of humans' sort of like hormonal functions because of the birth control pill, and that because women have been taking birth control for so many years that essentially like through our excretions we have then added estrogen into the water supply so much that this is like everyone now is consuming like through just like your general water or like through like foods that you eat, we're all like pumping up our estrogen levels just a little bit because we're as like 50%, or not 50% of the population, but a large portion of the population are consuming extra estrogen on a daily basis, that where then like it's not even just affecting us, it's affecting all of the males, it's affecting women that don't take the contraceptive pills. Like it's the things that we put down,
like
the things that we put down, use our bodies. Yeah, it goes into fish, like things that we use in our bodies and we put into our bodies that then end up into the waterways. We think it's like it's washed away, but it is coming back. Like that is the world is a cycle. It comes back to us. It's because it always has a side effect.
And in that, there's these, you know, these really fat men, especially in the US, they have these videos of them, they call man boobs, you know, that whole concept. And they actually did a test, and there's actually boob material, and it's because of what they're feeding the chickens. I don't know.
Yeah, they're giving the chickens all of the estrogen as well.
Yeah, estrogen and whatever, there's hormones or whatever they're feeding the chickens to, you know, because how you profitable as a chicken farmer is completely dependent on a number of days you can get the chick from being like a chick to like a full-blown chicken that is in like coals, like big bag. So they keep pumping these things, the hormones or whatever, and the men are eating all these things, and they're growing breasts because they want the chicken to have the biggest breasts and smaller legs, right?
Man. Moral of the story, ladies, eat more chicken.
How can you see the fun human side of this whole?
Give me bigger boobs and thinner legs. But I have a firm belief, like humanity's we surprise ourselves more often than not with how resilient we are. We are born to be resilient creatures. We're born
like cockroaches.
We are the human version of cockroaches. Like we'll bounce back. I have a belief we'll bounce back. I think everyone sort of feels that as well, that this will be, whilst it might change things, it's going to be a temporary thing, and there's not really much that can stop our human nature, which is like to be together.
What do you guys think we should call that whole 10 minutes?
Oh my god, Zoe and Manu rant.
Sorry?
Sorry, I don't know. I was like, just like
What next?
secret garden rants. Yeah, what next?
Secret garden rant, COVID-19 rant. Should I call that? Secret garden COVID-19 rant. Thanks for watching the Secret Garden COVID-19 rant with
Zoe
and Manu.
Thanks for watching this Hang Loose Recluse production from Secret Garden, somewhere in the world.
Future